Okay, let's start with the second tutorial for chapter 4. Okay, so I'm gonna draw the initial equilibrium in the market first. Okay, we'll do this step by step. Alright, okay, so we know that this question involves two types of customers, so we are gonna need how many graphs? We're gonna need 4 graphs. Okay, so I'm just gonna draw 4 graphs right now. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Right, so now the first question that we will need to ask is, okay, since the y-axis is all p, okay, we know that the x-axis is going to be x, right? So what should we use as x? Should we use books or should we be using parties? Okay, if you read the question, okay, further down on part B, you will realize that it asks you to analyze the short-run effects for an increase in the price of parties on, okay, equilibrium price and quantity of books, spending on books. Okay, so now what they want you to do is to analyze the effects on books, okay, due to a change in some variable that involves parties. So that means books is going to be your x, alright? Okay, so I'm going to put x over here, and you should know that now x, okay, refers to books. Okay, so let's go back to the first part, okay, on the initial equilibrium. So we have two types of customers. Okay, we have the all-rounders. Okay, all-rounders. All right, I've used pink in my blog post, so I'm going to use pink here. Okay, we'll call them the all-rounders. All right. Okay, and we have the stressed people. Okay, who are in blue, stressed people. Okay. And next we are going to have the firm, okay, a representative firm of all the firms in the industry that are producing books, and we have the market for books. Okay, so let's start by drawing the demand curves for the all-rounders first. Okay, as you can see, they are highlighted in pink. Okay, so the all-rounders has an elasticity greater than unity. So what does it mean? Okay, so elasticity is going to be more than 1, so that means they are elastic, right? Okay, and if you read down, okay, they say that the all-rounders constitute a much smaller group of consumers than the stressed people. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw the demand curve, okay, and it has to be a flat one because it is elastic. Okay, don't worry about the size of the consumer first, because we'll go to that later. Okay, so we're going to draw, okay, a flat demand curve, okay, and this will be the demand curve for the all-rounders. Okay, I'm going to use this pen here so that I don't make it too messy. Alright, we're going to call this D naught, and we'll put this AR to denote that it is the well, I think it's a little bit small, but yeah, I'll just read it out to you. Okay, D naught AR, so it's the demand curve for the all-rounders. Okay, now I'm going to draw the demand curve for the stressed people, and the stressed people, okay, are said to have an elasticity of less than 1, which means that this is inelastic. Okay, and it also says that yeah, so they are a bigger group than the all-rounders. So I'm going to draw a demand curve that is inelastic, so we know that it is going to be steep. So just something like this. Okay, and I'm gonna denote this as D naught SP. Okay, so it's the initial demand curve for the stressed people. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to combine the two demand curves together. So think about it. If I have one group of customers that are elastic and one group of customers that are inelastic in terms of demand, if I combine them together, knowing that I have lesser elastic people, so what will my overall demand be? It will be inelastic. That's right, because the stressed people make up a larger portion of the demand. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw my demand curve, okay, for the market, and overall is going to be inelastic. So I'm gonna make sure that it's a little bit less steep than this guy, okay, because it has been factored in by the elastic reversal, probably something like this. Okay, so I'm gonna draw my demand curve downwards. Okay, and for this I'm just gonna denote it as D naught. Okay, D naught. Okay, now next thing, we just gotta fill up the missing holes. So I'm just gonna put in my supply curves and my cost curves for the firm. Okay, so what I usually like to do is I like to draw the supply curve first. Okay, so that I know that I know where to put like the firm's ACMC, and so that I can make sure that the price actually cuts through the elastic portion. Because the problem is that sometimes you draw the elastic demand curve too flat, and when you come out with an equilibrium with the supply, the price doesn't hit the demand curve at all, and you gotta redraw it all over again, and that sucks. Okay, so I'm just gonna, you know, assume that it's somewhere over here. I'm gonna use a pencil, draw a straight line. Okay, so I know this is the point for my supply, so I'm gonna use purple. I'm gonna draw my supply curve upwards like this. Okay, so notations. Okay, supply naught, which is the sum of the marginal cost curves, right? Okay, so now I'm just gonna add in my firm's cost curves. Let's use green for that, shall we? Okay, so here's my MC. It's going upwards, MC naught. Yeah, should have used like black pen, but okay, never mind. Okay, and my AC curves, okay, same. I usually draw a steep one, you know. You will know why in the future. Okay, steep one, alright, and we'll call that AC naught. Okay, so now let's mark out all the rest of the missing points. Okay, so I'm gonna draw a line down here, I'm gonna draw a line down here, here, and here. Okay, so now this point over here, okay, I'm gonna call it X naught. Okay, and the economy is at point A. Sorry, the market is at point A. So now the firms are at point AF. F stands for firm, and they are producing X naught F quantity of books. Okay, and the consumers, okay, stress people are over here at point ASP. Alright, and they are consuming X naught SP amount of books. Okay, as for the all-rounders, okay, it's going to be AR, and they are consuming, okay, X naught AR amount of books. Okay, so as you can see, the spending of the consumers, okay, it's here. Alright, here, this box over here, because why? This is price multiplied by quantity, so P times Q gives you the spending. Same for this part, this box over here. Alright, okay, now how do you know what to write for the initial equilibrium? Because you see, part A, they just ask you to draw the initial equilibrium, right? But you got to do some explanation. Okay, a tip for you is just you go to point B, okay, question part B, and you ask them, and they're asking you, okay, what are the effects? Alright, so they will say things like equilibrium price, quantity of books, equilibrium quantity, spending on books by each customers, output and profit. So you just follow this format. So they asked me, what's the equilibrium price? Equilibrium price is, stupid, I didn't write, P naught. Okay, P naught is the equilibrium price, right? Okay, and what's the equilibrium quantity of books? X naught. Alright, and we are shown here, that's the equilibrium. Spending on books on each group of customers, we've gone through that already, is here. You can just shade the area and tell them that is that part. Okay, and output of the firm is X naught F. Profit of the firm obviously is normal profit, okay, because they are perfectly competitive. Okay, so now we going on to question B. You have to draw a new graph. Basically just replicate this because it's for separately A and B, but for the purpose of saving paper and time, we are just gonna use this graph for the video itself. Okay, so analyze the short-run effects of an increase in price on parties. Okay, so now we know that parties increase in price. Okay, so parties up price, right? Okay, and what do we also know? We know that the all-rounders treat parties as complements, because to them, to be an all-rounder, okay, you need to study hard and play harder, man. Okay, and no, okay, having this in mind, when parties increase in price, so what will happen to the demand for books? Will it go up or go down? Okay, now as now parties increase in price, so obviously what will happen to the demand for parties? It will drop, right? Okay, so when the demand for parties drop, being a complement, the demand for books will drop as well. That's right. So what happens is that the demand curve, okay, is going to shift backwards. Okay, it's going to shift backwards. Okay, because when I complements, basically the demand for each good follow each other. Okay, now for the stressed people, okay, we know that they are gross substitutes, right? So when they are gross substitutes, okay, they're so stressed, they don't want to spend so much money, right? So when the price of parties go up, okay, they will consume less parties and they will have more books. So yeah, surprisingly, the stressed people want to become more stressed. You know, they're going to buy more books and they're going to read more. Okay, so the demand curve is going to shift to the right. Okay, so I hope that you can see this, see what's going on. Okay, let me summarize it for you. Okay, for complements, alright, if the demand for good X goes up, demand for good Y goes up. For gross substitutes, the demand for good X goes down, the demand for good Y goes down. Okay, and the other way around. Alright, same for this guy as well. Okay, so now we know that we're gonna do our shifting. Okay, so we're gonna shift this guy inwards. Okay, we're gonna shift this guy outwards. Okay, so the overall demand, what's gonna happen? Is the overall demand curve gonna shift to the right or shift to the left? Correct, it shifts to the right. Okay, because why? The stressed people make up a larger percentage of the consumers. Okay, so let's start with the stress, with the market demand here first. Okay, so you know the purpose is again so that our price line will actually touch that guy. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna draw my new demand curve out this way. Okay, so this is gonna be D1 and the economy is over here at B. Okay, nothing happened to the MC. So I'm gonna draw a straight line across again. Okay, so I got my new equilibrium price over here, right? P1, P1, P1 and P1. Okay, so I gotta shift my curves now. Okay, so I know that my all-rounders, okay, are going to decrease their demand. So I'm just going to draw a line here like this. Okay, making sure that it touches this point on the price line. Okay, and I'm going to call this demand curve. Okay, D1 AR. And now they are over here. Point B AR. Okay, and they are consuming X1 AR. Okay, now for the stressed people, okay, what's gonna happen is that they're gonna shift outwards. Okay, so my demand curve is gonna go out like that. Okay, so this is gonna be D1SP. Okay, and it will be at this point because there's a new price line, right? So that's B, S, P, and they are consuming X1 SP amount of goods. Okay, so let's talk about the consumer first, alright? They are asking, okay, what is the spending? Okay, now this is actually quite easy to see. Okay, look at the, let's take a look at the all-rounders first. So initially their consumption was this box over here, right? Just let me draw it out for you. This box over here, right? Okay, so now, okay, the spending has changed to here. So how do we know that this box is the initial box is bigger than this box? We really do not know, because it depends on the size of this and this, and because it's on a different demand curve, we are unable to confirm whether the spending has increased or decreased. Okay, so for this part, okay, that's the answer. You cannot determine whether it is bigger or smaller. Okay, as for the stressed people, as you can see, initial spending was this much. Okay, now it has changed to this. So it's very obvious here why, because it's a bigger box. It's definitely a bigger area. So therefore, the spending on the stressed people is now higher, definitely. Okay, now let's look at the firm. Okay, so the price line is now here, so the firm will always produce at P equals to MC. So that means they are here. Okay, they are at BF and they are producing X1F. So the quantity produced, the output by the firm has increased from X0F to X1F. Okay, and what kind of profit are they earning? They are earning supernormal profit. Now here's the reason why we drew a steep AC, like a sharper one, because at this point you can clearly show, okay, that the AC is above P0. Okay, so it would be wrong if you were to color the area between P1 and P0, so you have to color the area here. Okay, just let me do it for you here. And there will be a small gap on top of P0. So this is the supernormal profit that is earned by the firm. Okay, so we have successfully answered question A and question B. Okay, now what will happen to all these elements in the long run? Okay, so you know that the firm is earning supernormal profit. So what will happen now? Competing firms will come into the industry to produce books as well, right? So what's going to happen is that since they come in, right, the supply curve is going to move to the right. Okay, the supply curve is going to move to the right. Okay, and this is going to push down the price back to P0. Okay, which is the original price lah. Okay, and then the firms will be earning normal profit. Okay, so now the thing is that you can either just do this. This is a very simple explanation. Okay, so let me tell you the steps. What's gonna happen again? Okay, so look here. Look here. Okay, so firms enter. Okay, which will increase supply of X. Okay, then the the supply curve is gonna move outwards. Okay, but why is it that the MC doesn't move outwards? Why? Because we all said that the supply curve is the sum of MC, right? We can't do that because the cost to the firm remains the same. It is because there are more firms in the market now. That's why the supply curve is going to move out instead of our MC. Okay, so think about it. Look at this notation over here. Okay, the sum of MC will give you your supply curve. So imagine if the sum of 3 firms is S, the sum of 10 firms will definitely be more than S. Okay, so that is why your supply curve is going to move and your MC is going to stay the same because the cost towards a firm remains the same. Okay, now that is the most basic. Okay, basically what you're going to do is you're going to shift the MC to the right. Okay, then you push down the price back to P0 and everything goes back the same, and then you do the same analysis regarding their expenditure and the firm's profit. Basically you just go back to X0F. Now if you want to score higher marks, okay, this is what you can do. Okay, just let me reproduce the firm and the market graphs again. Okay, I'm not going to care about the consumers now because I think you should be, you are definitely well versed in that already. So we're going to go through something that's more exciting, okay? How to score extra marks. Okay, now that's P, and now that's X. Okay, so initially this is what we had, right? Okay, I'm going to do this in different color. Okay. Okay, so this is D0. This is S0, which is the sum of the marginal cost curves. Okay, this is P0, and this is my firm. Okay, so just let me do some labeling. So this is the firm, this is the market. Okay, now let's just go through quickly. Initially what happened was that the demand curve moved to the right side. Okay, and I'm going to do this in blue. Okay, blue shows the short run. Okay, I'm going to do this in blue. Alright, so this is D1, and the market is now at B, producing much more at X1. Okay, and this leads to the firm's earnings supernormal profit, P1, P1. Okay, alright, so now firms enter. So what happens when firms enter? What's going to happen to the cost curves? The cost curves are going to shift up, right? Because there's an increase in demand for factors. So once there's an increase in demand for factors, what happens to the factor prices? They definitely increase, right? So it's going to shift my MC and my AC upwards. Okay, so let's just move the AC. Okay, assuming that the assumption, okay, is that the cost of capital has increased. Okay, fixed cost has increased. Okay, so that's why we're going to move the AC. Alright, now how to do this? Okay, firstly, I will want to show, right, okay, that my final price will be somewhere, so it will be easier for me to draw. Okay, so I know that I gotta shift my MC outwards now. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do two things now. Okay, all the long run is in P. Okay, I know that I want the AC to increase, so I'm just gonna draw conveniently the new point in between. Okay, here, in between, right, and I'm gonna draw a straight line across. Okay, so I know that I have to land here, this point. I will have to land at this point. So how do I demonstrate, okay, that there is now, okay, an increase in price? Okay, I just have to simply, okay, again pink for long run, just draw that line there. Okay, so that's going to be my S1 sum of MC. Okay, so this supply curve has captured, okay, number one, the entrance of new firms as well as the increase in cost. Okay, so that is how to answer this question, and this is really a great question because it really got me started on perfect competition. Okay, so in the next tutorial we'll be going through a situation whereby there are two types of firms. Alright, okay, so I hope you enjoyed that video.